And we're live.
Well, all right. Real quick, before we begin, I just want to share something like really quick. I went to my index of my Bible and I looked up Gethsemane and hold on a second, let me find it really quick.
Take your time.
So it says Garden of Gethsemane, and then it says the maps of Jesus and the page numbers. All right. Are 1711 and 1771 and 1918.
Nice.
Those were the page numbers. It's so cool. So very cool. So one other quick thought, 918 was the number that followed me, that I always saw before I was awakened. And 918 is my dad's birthday. So numerology is amazing.
Numbers are fun.
Very much so. And then I saw 11 this morning like 3 times. And I saw 9/11 once as well.
Nice.
It's very cool.
Yeah. Well, just like last time, I don't really have anything in particular to discuss. So I'll just leave it open to anyone who wants to throw out any topics or questions or wherever we want to be taken. I love going where the wind blows. So who's got an idea?
A lot of people listening. See here, the mics are blocked. Maybe some new members.
Yeah, there's a few new people in here. Is there anyone in here who's got a question or topic or anything?
I've got an idea.
Yeah, what's your idea? I love ideas.
Well, I learned this about 10 years ago on an internet talk show, and it has to do with, and I'm going to change the words, your born name. Take all the letters in your born name, and let's say put each letter on a small piece of paper so that you can jumble the letters around. Now you can use an I for a Y, a C for a K, but take your complete born name. And even if you have something like a confirmation name, if you're associated with the Catholic Church at one time, now take all those letters and try to make words out of them that relate to your life. To give an example, your cat's names, your brother's names, your sister's names. One of the ones that comes up for me that I found interesting was parachute, which you now know my name isn't Ichabod Crane, but it's interesting because that was my godfather. Another name word that comes up was Pharaoh, which I found to be very interesting.
Yeah.
So you can play along with that. That's an interesting way to kill some time and to explore your words.
Yeah, almost kind of like in a similar vein, but kind of like a gematria decode of your own name. I don't know if anyone's ever played around with those calculators, but they're fun to plug in words and numbers and whatever. You can plug in your own name and see what pops out. But that's always a way to decode like Trump's tweets. Whenever he does all caps with any letters, a lot of Anons will put in all of the capital letters into Gematria, into the Gematrix, I believe is the name of the website. And it will just spit out a whole bunch of words, and usually these are code for something. And you kind of pick which words resonate, which ones are relevant. But it's pretty wild to see what comes up. I know Santa Surfing does that a lot to show that, which is pretty cool.
It's Fairy Dancer Valerie here.
Hey,
I just
Valerie.
in relation to that, Ichabod, thank you. I've played with that before and still do, as well as the time of our, like the numbers of our birth and what was going on in that time, as well as for our relationships, whatever they might be, with our dog, our dog's birth, with our significant other, with a friend, and what's going on, what was going on in that particular time. And there's lots of sacred gematria, numerology, etymology surrounding all that. There's quite a story that could be told in relationship to the energies that were happening and that we were, quote unquote, born into, and how that may have influenced our lives up until this point. So I just wanted to say that and what people might think about that as well.
I agree with that. I mean, that comes up in your birth chart. If you have
Yes.
someone do your birth chart, those numbers are very important.
Yes, yes, indeed, Ichabod. And one thing that I've done in working with energies and energy medicine and healing is I only dabbled in astrology, although I have been guided and been given the gift of being able to.
Oh, we lost the last thing. Lost the last thing that you said. We've got a Charlie moment.
I guess we have to coin that new word, a Charlie moment,
Yeah,
or the Charlie effect.
the damn Mexican internet.
And then if we also look at our name and what our name means, and Charlie talked about Justin's name and Marie's name a couple of videos ago, and that our names are not of coincidence because our names truly have, they have meaning. Our names, I remember the day that I had the epiphany of what my name meant, and it was just, it's amazing. God is amazing.
Truly. Yeah, I mean,
He truly is.
there's nothing is random. Everything is divinely orchestrated and divinely arranged to lead us exactly where we are. So even our names given to us by our parents are specifically picked for our entity for a specific reason, to teach us something. And then if we adopt a moniker, if we adopt a name too, that's for a higher reason as well. But it's cool to look into.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So just looking in the live chat, Melissa, hey Melissa, thanks for joining us. She asked about marijuana for medical use, so cannabis for medical use. I like using the term cannabis instead of marijuana because marijuana was the slang that when they pushed the whole anti-drug thing, the drug war, they tried to get marijuana to be adopted because it was a much more slang term. So cannabis is more related to the official name of it. But cannabis in general is very medicinal. I think the best form of medicinal use for cannabis is through the oil. So if you can find a really good pure oil source or make it yourself that has a wide variety of beneficial effects, because cannabis it maps our brain so well. I mean, we have these cannabinoid receptors within our brain that are just made perfectly for this plant. So it's really a really beautiful symbiotic relationship. So people have healed all sorts of things with it. Obviously, you can't abuse it as well. I wouldn't do too much of it and just start small depending on what you're working on, but it can really be helpful for a wide variety of things from just pain relief to healing all sorts of things.
Yeah, a full spectrum RSO oil is probably the best healing cannabis that you could do internally. And then, obviously smoking, but that has its own downfalls. But yeah, for healing medicinal purposes, it's going to be a full spectrum RSO oil, which you could probably make it yourself relatively easy. You just got to get some stuff or find it from your store. Just look into how they make it. But everything should be tested. So
Yeah. Yeah, I've never made it myself, but it seems like a pretty simple process. You just have to get 99.9% isopropyl alcohol, and then a slow cooker is really the best way to do it. And you just,
it's yeah, low temperature, long period of time is going to keep your full spectrum. You'll lose some of the cannabinoids that are lower temperature, and keeping the temperature low also, keeps it again full spectrum. So if you're looking for healing properties, yeah, just what Justin said, just isopropyl alcohol, and then your slow cooker, and leave it on overnight in a well ventilated area, and then you could put it in syringes from there, and then use it like a small rice grain to start out with, and then work your way up, kind of just depending on what you're trying to heal.
yeah, I mean, I know people have had success like curing Alzheimer's and things like that, because it really does help rewrite those pathways in your brain, that might have been, whether it's through toxins or whatever sort of damage that's caused to them. It just really helps to kind of shake things loose a little bit and heal them. It's pretty miraculous stuff.
Yeah, seizures with kids, they have there's a recipe out, like even with seizures, it happens immediately. Some of the relief that you'll get from it is immediate, but some of it takes time. You could cure most cancers in a 60-gram cycle, which is quite a bit, but you can get through it. And so I'm assuming the Alzheimer's and the other ailments, you could probably cure with inside of that as well.
Yeah, good question though. Patrick says, with or without THC, which kind of plant? There's so many. Yeah. So with THC, so full spectrum, as Aaron was saying, is best.
And then
Obviously, if
indica strain.
yeah, indica is best for healing. So if you can find um, an original, so try to stay away from.
Hindu Kush.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a Hindu Kush. Some of the original strains, and it's kind of hard to know which ones they are, but in the indica, and like a Kush strain or Hindu Kush. But if that's going to be hard to find, just stick with a straight indica strain, and that's going to give your best healing properties. And it's just a little more, less up, I guess you would say, on the spectrum.
Hey,
Yeah.
this is Tiz Nani here,
Hey,
West
Tiz.
Coast, Ashland, Oregon. Another good thing is there's some topicals you can make in a crock pot. You can make oils with coconut oil and refined out. There's ways to make it, but there's topicals you can use for arthritis and all that stuff too. And
yeah, the fat content in coconut oil will extract it as well. That is a good way to make some labs or some topicals.
yeah, for edibles.
Yeah, and for edibles as well. No, you get pulling it into having the fat content in the coconut oil will really allow you to kind of disperse that in multiple different ways, but really good for the oils as well as the edibles, like you said. Because you said you're in Oregon too, huh?
Yeah, and I'm from the West Coast, and I mean we're like California. There's places you get the products from. I do grow for medical purposes, and we have a lot of these topicals we make and stuff, and edibles, and so when you get into the organic side of it, there's so many people that are using GMO chemicals to grow their products, and that is not very defined in them. So researching where you're getting it from, where the product's coming from too. So it's super important.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I think so both you, Aaron, and Tiz are in Oregon, right?
Yeah, I'm Southern Oregon right now.
Nice.
Yeah, I am also. Down in Southern Oregon, about 15 miles from the Cali border.
I'm in Grants Pass, so we'll have to chat.
Yeah, you're not far from me. I'm in Ashland.
Awesome, bro. We'll chat after this.
Nice.
Yeah. And there's a just a little bit off subject, but there's a big movement you probably know about, Aaron. It's Americans in Action here, all the way up down the West Coast. They're actually collecting a lot of sheriffs that are actually starting to take dominion over all the government hired people. That the sheriffs actually have
That's great.
leadership over, yeah. So that's another subject to talk about later, but it's
Yeah,
pretty awesome thing going on right now.
Yeah, we'll definitely connect after this, unless Justin wants to get on that topic. But it's like a little more
Yeah,
specific.
yeah. I was just trying to.
So, I'll hit you up after this one.
There's
Sure.
a video that Patriot Street Fighter just put out, and he interviewed a sheriff. I can throw that up on our Justin group chat, and yeah, it's a movement, county by county. And I took some notes yesterday. Took a lot of notes yesterday. Now I have to go back and refine them.
Robert David Steele also interviewed that same sheriff.
Pardon me?
Arizona.
Yes. And he actually
It's a
laid
very
out,
big-
pardon me?
I just said it's a big movement. with the
Huge
sheriff's
movement.
associations.
Yeah, it's a huge movement. And he actually laid out for the people exactly how to do it. And it's just, this is what we need to do. I mean,
Well, yeah,
we have to really, stand up.
It's not
Yes,
gonna
we
stop
do.
without us.
Yes, we do.
Because I'm in the most lockdown county, and I can't. I get so not upset, but just it's sad seeing everybody just follow the rules. And we're in the most lockdown county in the lockdown state, and I'm ready just to go to them because we got a really good sheriff. So this is all good news because I'm not on social a lot, and I've just been doing tons of work. So it's nice to hear that because I'm about done with this. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I will tell you, Robert David Steele is starting a 50-day, every state, 2 stops in, like, say, 2 cities, and they're going to take sheriffs, pastors, and lawyers, and they already have them gathered up. And not to promote my channel, but my channel, Cosmic Entanglement, has a lot of these sheriffs. I've taken 5-minute snips of all these different sheriffs they're interviewing, so they're really short snippets of the important parts of what they're doing. It's a great movement that's going on. I'm just kind of trying to help get it out there instead of watching a half-hour video. So check those out.
Yeah,
Cosmic
definitely.
Entertainment.
Yeah, I think that's great. Just be wary of Robert David Steele. I think that's a great idea to interview the sheriffs, but I'm not so certain about that character.
I don't even know.
I agree there. He seemed to have flip-flopped along the way here. I followed him from when I first found him, and we're friends on Facebook, but I used to listen to all his videos, and now I'm not happy with what he's saying.
Yeah, well, just the people he's aligned
Kind
with.
of like almost disinformation.
Hmm.
Lots of ego.
Yep.
Oh yeah, him especially. He won't stop interrupting people.
Right. Yeah, he likes.
Yeah, he's definitely.
Well,
likes
he's former CIA, so
exactly. One CIA always.
Former spy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
remain
there ain't no
skeptical.
former about that. Once
Mhm.
CIA, always CIA.
Exactly.
Well, I will say the West Coast movement that we're doing here is actually a friend of mine that started it. His name's Christo Hartman, and he's actually connecting with all these sheriffs from like a 7-state territory here, and the same sheriffs that are getting stirred up around the United States. I posted something on Justin's chat about this police officer Peterson that actually, if you guys watched it, this guy's like a boss superstar. He's actually came out and says that his managers, his overseers of his precinct actually approved what he was going to do, and he actually did it and spoke out like nobody ever has. And it was just posted yesterday on Scotty Marr 10 Films. It's pretty epic. 12-minute video, but there's 6 minutes at the end of it that he just speaks out about the whole thing and about what this tyranny is going on and how sheriffs are able to stand up. And he's a police officer, he's not a sheriff, so it's a big divide that's been connected there.
That's great. We're getting the authorities standing up because they did take an oath to protect the people. And I've asked every cop that I ran by, every sheriff, and they're definitely not policy pushers here. So that would be great if we could get them up here and start moving it because people are not standing up.
I will give you a little enlightenment on what they're doing. What they're doing is the sheriffs are actually hired by us. If you didn't to understand this, the sheriffs are hired by the people, and the police actually work for the government. So these sheriffs have the chance to override and arrest any police officer, health official, or anything. And so we literally have these signs that you can put in your business, and it's a warning sign that says any health official or anyone that comes into your business. So we have businesses in this area in Ashland and Medford, Grants Pass, all up and down the West Coast that are opening up with this sign, and they can call these sheriffs that we've linked into their phone numbers and their emails, and they will come and arrest these health officials, police officers, if they're harassing people that aren't wearing that are wearing masks. It's really a huge thing. They've started that here. Yeah, it's amazing. So it's called Americans in Action. They're on Telegram too, so you can look into what they're doing. And we're having meetings once a month, and there was 200 people at the meeting just this last Saturday for 6 hours. And Sheriff Mack, that's one of the sheriffs from back east, and they're all being video chatted over on these big screens in this church we're in, and it's just like they're selling tacos in the parking lot. I mean, it's just this thing. It's just growing by week.
That's amazing.
Well,
That's
sheriffs
very encouraging.
defend the Constitution.
Yeah,
Right?
everything's on the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. They're all just sticking to those words.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's our power.
right. And sheriffs are the highest law enforcement in the land. Like they don't have to appeal to anyone. They are it. They are the authority to go to. So that's great. I'm really glad to hear that.
And exactly, Justin. So if you think about old times back, and I don't know saying about how long ago, but you hear them like in these old movies and stuff, the sheriff, way back in, a couple hundred years, that there was the sheriffs. They were just mediators. They would come in, they would settle a dispute, and based on common law, you don't hurt me, I won't hurt you. You don't kill me, I won't kill you. You don't steal from me, I don't steal from you. And that's what we're going to go back to. I'm, seeing that very soon. So we're working on it. I don't see it like right around the corner, but that's what we're all pressing towards.
Yeah,
We'll just start deputizing all of us. We'll be good.
Yeah, honestly, that's what we have to move to when we get outside of this need for government and get outside of this need for central authority. It's going to have to be up to all communities to just enforce common law, like just make sure that and honestly, when we get away from this trauma-based mind control where people are just traumatized from the very beginning, we won't have crime. Like crime will be such a rare thing because people aren't naturally inclined towards crime. We're not naturally psychopathic in that nature. We've just been programmed that direction. So it'll be a really rare occasion, but it'll be up to every single individual to take responsibility and say, hey, anytime this does pop up, we gotta fix it. We gotta make it right. Like whatever wrong is committed, you gotta do something right to make up for it. But yeah, it's exciting to hear that kind of stuff happening because we'll get there.
Yeah, and what it's going to be is what they're calling for is like neighborhood and community movement. It has to start with each neighborhood and to know our rights with these sheriffs, and then also going to the community status is reaching out to the community where these meetings are going.
We're kind of losing.
Did I hear someone?
We're kind of losing your voice, Tiz.
They own the church, and so what's that?
We were kind of losing
Justin.
We were kind of losing your voice for a second.
Sorry, maybe yeah, I wasn't having my mouth there. Oh, sorry. So in this movement of the communities is gathering up, and these businesses. I went into auto parts store just down the corner, and these guys own the church where they're having these meetings. None of them are wearing masks. They have the sign in there. They can call the sheriff, and so they're actually literally not requesting people not wear masks or letting them come in. But this is the movement that has to happen. It says starting business by business.
Yeah.
And these signs are available. I'll try and take a picture and post it where Justin can share it with other people. And
that'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. I live in the state of Michigan. We all know about Michigan, so it's really tough here. Just the store owners, and it's very, very disheartening what's happening in our state. So I have to now get out and I have to hit the pavement. I think that's where God wants me to serve the people.
We have 15 states right now that are 100% open. The last one's Texas, which is going to open March 10th. So it's moving. We got to stand up just as much as everybody else, because I don't see that around my community either. I don't see, some retired community and they're okay with it, but I'm not. So I think we all just need to stand up and take over our land and start pushing what we know is right and live God's laws. It's
Yeah.
just natural. It's just natural.
Yes,
Yeah.
God's laws are divine.
And I'll share a small experience of a lot of stores I've been in, post office, that I've went in, Walmart, and I actually walk in, they tried to tell me to get a mask at the front door, and I look at them, I go, no, thank you. And I walked into Walmart 2 days ago, I walked in the post office a couple weeks ago, and I just don't wear a mask. I got kicked off a plane and purged as a terrorist. American Airlines flying to Phoenix a couple of weeks ago, and actually got all my tickets canceled, could never fly on their airline again because I wasn't wearing a mask on the plane, but I wasn't asked to. I had a little scarf on, I pulled it up over my mouth and I fell off and fell asleep, and they had the police, kind of like all there at the gate when I got off, and we had to stay in the airport and book another flight. It was quite wild, but the experience is everyone needs to do it. Just walk into a store, walk into the post office. Most people are at the point now, they're tired of it, and employees are not even, they're just not even saying anything. Everyone else is looking at me standing back 10 feet, but just do it.
Post office, they can't make you wear a mask at the public area. So anything like that, I've never worn a mask, but all the private companies, they can make you wear a mask. But I don't go into big box stores at all, but around Christmas, I had to go in Home Depot and they weren't even asking around here. It's just the policies that, some of these smaller businesses are afraid of. They're just afraid of, they're barely opening up and they just want to stay open for, just make some ends meet and stuff. So giving them confidence that they could actually open the business and not have to worry about that's the fighting force I think they need, knowing that they could call somebody and, because all of them know that it's BS and they're just following somebody's policy. But, that everybody says, what other option do I have? I keep my doors open. I'm like, well, you could take off your mask and you could fight back just like this other business. They let me in.
Yeah.
So maybe just giving them, these signs and knowing that there's some backing in these groups going on. Again, I've been kind of disconnected, but I think it's time to go out there and just start talking to people and really getting them to understand that, this is not going to stop by just waiting for our governor to say it's going to stop. It's going to have to be us that's going to have to stand up and fight for it. They're going to have to fight for our freedoms back, or they're not going to give them to us. So, we can't wait for whatever's going to happen, with Trump coming out or whatever. I'm not going to hold my breath, but, we're all going to have to stand up just much as we have to do the work. Nobody's going to do the work for us. We have to, choose to do it and start with, juicing and clarifying and purifying. And, that comes with everything. So
Yeah.
it's time.
I'll share a short parable with you. As it says, foxes have holes in the ground, birds have nests in the air, but the Son of Man has nowhere to set his head. He's looking for a body of people to resurrect and manifest here. And, it says we take the kingdom of God, we take it with force. And so we're actually literally in this place, in this fractaling moment of taking back our rights by force and our energy and our frequency and our light.
Yep.
Not only without, but also within. That's beautifully said.
Also, we're in a time of cleansing with the juice fast, and it's the time of Lent, and we're moving towards the resurrection. And I just think that's what I learned that yesterday, listening to Charlie and Justin and Marie in the Bible study, and it's just like it makes so much. It's just so clear now. It makes so much more sense. And our temple, we are God's temple. We are to be the anointed one. And literally, when Charlie talked to Justin and Marie about not turning back, that's exactly how I feel. When you walked away from being saved and going down that path of Christianity and understanding just how the truth of Christ Jesus was disseminated and how we're bringing that to light, but when you clear your mind and when you listen to what Charlie says and when you go to the light and when you have no thought, the healing is just like, it's immenseful. It's so right there. And and when you just open your mind to it all, it's just an amazing experience. And yes, it's just
True, truly
very, it really is.
reward.
Yeah, Paul said we work out our salvation daily. So being saved is a kind of a little bit underrated, because if we're working our salvation daily through fear and trembling, then it is a constant walk every moment, every time we breathe.
Yep.
And we can actually be grafted in and grafted out of that tree at any time by our own choices.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
And
it's
what
it's a
and what
constant choice. We have to be deciding in every single moment, waking up and saying, "Hey, ego, I see you. I see you over there. You're not taking the
Right.
reins today. You're not taking the reins. You're taking a back seat. I'll call on you whenever I need you, but that's about it." That's we have to be.
It says
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it says he lurks around. He lurks about as a roaring lion, seeing who he may devour. And like I made something on Telegram the other day. It says in Genesis, it says God gave permission for the serpent to eat from the dust of the earth. That moment we actually release our salvation, and we're walking in our carnal thoughts and our expressions, anger, bitterness. We've actually, unwound ourselves out of our own salvation. So, he's lurking about, waiting. Like in Genesis, it says he gave the permission to eat from the dust of the earth, which we were created from. And so when we walk in our carnality, we're actually walking in that allowing him to enter in and interfere in any moment of our lives and actions or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what it's all about. I mean, that's what the whole, like we talked about in the Bible study yesterday, like the Bible is just you. It's just you and your battle with the ego. That's all it is. So just take every character in there and replace it with your name and then your ego. It's just you and your ego having this constant battle, this constant struggle, and it's a choice. It's a choice of who you're gonna let win. And we win by completing the whole story by going through all the chakras, which are all going from the Old Testament to the New Testament, from red shift to blue shift, and then going all the way and completing the journey and saying, hey, no more. I'm done with this story. I'm ready to go for the next. That's what Revelation is all about. It's just the ending choice to say, I'm done with that way of being. I'm done with this struggle, and I'm ready to, but we have to actually like defeat it. You have to actually like wrestle it into submission and say,
Exactly.
I'm done with that. And that's what we're doing internally and externally. We've got to step forward and do that. And it's going to take, it'll take as long as we want it to. It'll take whether that's a few months or a few years or 20 years. I don't know how long it's going to take for us to get through this next period. But the more that we kind of take ownership and the more
Well,
that
I
we step forward and be the leaders, like within this group specifically, like it's we're being called to be those leaders to step forward and say, hey, we can do this. We've got this. We've got all the power we need, but we just have to take it. We have to make that choice.
Yeah, and in Revelations it says, this is a revelation of Christ Jesus, the book of Revelations. And so we gotta, like Justin said, we're replacing ourselves, that if he's one with the Father and we're one with him, then we're all one in one complete element, and we're actually his conduits here in the earth. And back in the end of Revelation, it says hell and death is swallowed up by the lake of fire. And it also says, I can't remember where, but it says his ministers are a flame of fire. I think it's in Timothy. And so if us as a group are getting together, like we're becoming a pond or a lake of fire as this family grows, and we are swallowing up hell and death personally, and then we're going to help everyone else together as a corporate group swallow up hell and death through our own consciousness, our own frequency we're vibrating.
Yeah, beautifully said.
I've been studying the scripture since 1996, and I studied under Kim Clement that prophesied Trump would be in office. And he was actually taken out. I don't know if he's still alive or not, but a lot of people have been taken out that might still be alive. But those things are taking us to a higher place and higher dimension. They did take out a lot of people that had a very strong prophetic word. That is. Us calling us, we are the sons of daughters of God. We need to be that. We have to react like that every moment of every day, and actions with our partners or, people, community, even in every
Every
with these
yeah,
people and kick out of their businesses.
every moment,
Wow.
every thought, it has to be divine. Surrendering all thoughts, it gets us back to that singularity place. Where we're getting past this test that we have to do, but it's the battle of our minds, and if we sit there and battle our minds too much, then we're part of the evil. Surrendering all thoughts and getting to the place of always love and just accepting the now. So then we don't have that chatter in our mind, because our mind is what controls our thoughts, or what controls our reality. You hold it in your head, you can hold it in your hand. People are in fear, so that's what they're living. We are choosing a different path, and we're holding this idea and this construct in our mind, and it's becoming our reality. So the closer that we get there, the less we're going to have to think, because we're not going to have as much duality with it. How long that's going to take, we don't know. But it is to the point of getting to be able to surrender all thoughts and really just have visions and manifesting what our reality is and walking through it, rather than always trying to fix what we have in our now, because we don't have our past is our past and our future is not here. So we have visions, and we could always construct in our mind and manifest, but without any goals, without any judgment, and just surrender all thoughts and let God put it back, because the power that we gain from purifying our temples and going down this path is immense. Be able to manifest things in moments. It's definitely truly the most powerful thing that they hidden from us is what's inside of us. I was speaking a little bit to Justin last night on the live chat about my feelings of how they do with the computers is backwards engineer our brain and they're showing it to us. But it's really just for an example, because we're not going to need this phone and internet anymore. We're going to go back to our telepathy and telepathic beings, where we're not going to be, we're not going to need to communicate this way. And that's a real thing. Ancient scriptures and ancient cultures, they all had free energy and wireless transmission of information. That's what they refer to, the Akashic records or source. And we get that when we meditate. Charlie talks about it, about downloads. I've experienced that kind of my whole life with downloads and things I didn't know what it was, but truly now understanding what these things are, it is getting the purification of your body, all the detoxins out, being light, and you could rise with the light and be one with the stars. It's beautiful.
Truly.
Yes,
I like
Aaron.
I like one thing Paul said in I think it was in Ephesians 1. He said, my prayer is that the principalities and powers would be known by the church. And he says, this is a great mystery. And if you understand, the mystery of that is God has created good and evil, and he has these things accessible. And it's a little bit too much to get into now, but I mean, the great mystery is understanding our war is not, if we're fighting against these principalities and that's part of God, it's part of his creation, but you got to understand, we just take dominion over and rise above it in our frequency and who we are and how we show up. That is the win of our battle, is we're not, fighting against principalities and powers in heavenly places. He says, take every thought captive and make it obedient to that righteousness.
Exactly.
Interesting that we started out speaking about our names, and randomly earlier this week, I went on my phone, looked at my name, and it gave 5 different areas, and then it gave all the strengths and weaknesses. And when you look at the weaknesses and then apply what we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to be, and then listen to our teachers and focus on yourself, being that our only goal is to be of the Holy Spirit. It's so well-rounded, and it just, the circle of our being, or our mankind and who we are is just, it's so explicit that we can be just like Christ was. And I mean, after 60 years and realizing that we have been spiritually abused, and if you have been, which a lot have, the understanding of it all is just, it's glorious to know that when you've been taught, about Jesus and salvation and nailing on the cross and all of that, and then you just like have the understanding that I've always had the understanding, not knowing until now, that it just all didn't make sense to me. It just really didn't. There was always questions in my mind and I never really questioned it. I just always listened. But then when you start listening to more of the truth and knowing that the Bible has been not all given to us, it's glorious. I mean, right now, just speaking to everyone, my insides are just boiling with just the excitement for everyone in this chat that we're connecting with. And then everyone, everyone can have this, not everyone's gonna take it or receive it, but that's our goal. I mean, God says, that we are to, I don't know where in the Bible it says this, but that's what we're supposed to just teach the truth of God's kingdom on earth. And we're all called to do that, like one life at a time. And it's just an amazing experience. I've just been touched. I just received a miracle on Sunday. And so I'm just full of I'm just full of the beginning of the experience. And it truly is amazing. So that's just my encouraging words to those that are new here and don't have an understanding of all of it. And I mean, definitely the people that, had jumped on in the beginning of this conversation, you know, we're all in this together and we're all family. And I can't wait to meet you all and embrace you all and be celebrating and partying like it's 1999 in the near future. And I like how we all say, this is where I'm staying now. And I feel the same way, like this is where I'm at now, but I mean, our home is everywhere. And I just can't wait to go out and be part of the humanitarian projects. And not that we're human, but the mankind projects and just reaching forward. So that is my heartfelt I am me message for the day.
Well, thank you for that.
That's
That was
beautiful.
Thank you guys.
Beautiful. Very, very beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I wanted to open up. I saw Joel, you had something to say. If anyone else who hasn't spoken yet, anyone got anything to add on to?
Yeah, thanks, Justin. Good to hear from you, man.
Yeah, you too,
Thanks
brother.
for doing this. Yeah, so super cool to hear from some West Coast family. I'm up in Seattle, not wearing a mask, just, walking through without fear and feeling, just really, really learning about cognitive dissonance and just, speaking my truth about the medical science and the big pharma agendas and stuff. But yeah, just, if we could, we're very, our nervous systems are very sensitive, and it's very difficult for some people to not wear a mask. And so even though they're suffering with that mask through anxiety or whatnot, they put it on because the anxiety of not wearing it is worse. And so there's just so much healing that's coming as we learn these really powerful lessons. And so just really appreciate that. I was down in Applegate as a farmer, as a grower for years. And so good to hear from you guys that, a lot of my friends down there are just wearing masks and don't believe anything's going on, and they're just doing cocaine and the cartel's intervening on them. And they've just invited a whole world of, like, they got so much money now and stuff from kind of taking over farms. And I just seen them slip away into that. So it's good to hear from conscious people that are growing medicine in a beautiful way and haven't got caught up in that. The pitfalls that come with money, with those kind of almost like hippie mafia style things that are happening down there. And so I was just really cool to hear that, and thankful that Tiz, you were courageous enough to not wear a mask at the airport or in for traveling, because that's probably the most scariest thing. And Professor Dolores Cahill gave a really clear explanation on, what you can do in a situation like that, and how to speak and what to say to the police so that they come to terms with, that you are willing to fight that issue all the way to the court. And once they understand that you're empowered with that information and that knowledge, they will most likely often, come to terms with the fact that they need to let you be on your way. You'll get delayed for hours and whatnot, but usually there's a way around that stuff. And so appreciate the people that are willing to, that are not in fear, that are walking in their power and doing that work. So thank you guys. Good to meet all of you.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate
I-
that.
let's coin his word, hippie mafia. That was awesome.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I mean that's why they sought to legalize the cannabis industry so that they could sort of convert it into this, other greedy world and take it away from the medicinal and beautiful effects that it could have. And that's why they've restricted people from growing it in their own homes so much and made it to where it has to go through their set of rules and their set of crookedness. But we'll get there. We're getting there.
I'd like to speak for a second into the time. You guys are wondering about the timeline, how long this is going to last. In the book of Revelations, it speaks very clearly of 7 years of tribulation, 3.5 years of this torment, as I believe what we're in right now, and the other 3.5 years after that. So I really believe we're looking at a time schedule, a time scale. I'm not trying to pin it down to a time, but I think we're going to be in this little washing machine for a bit till we hit the dryer and start coming out the other side. But this birth and growth, the birth pains of this is about what you guys are all doing here, us connecting and coming into this new higher consciousness that we're able to vibrate in constantly, and that is the beginning of that. It says first the enemy comes on like a flood. It says the enemy comes on, and then God it says the enemy comes on like a flood, and then God raises new standards. So I believe we're going through this process of allowing the enemy, since he did create good and evil, he's actually allowing this to actually purge, and that we're on the threshing floor of separating the tares from the wheat right now. And
Yeah.
as the nature stands up, the tares are going to be taken away. And I shared a Yeshua said, I planted the tare in the wheat in the field, and you are that field. And people have claimed the rapture being two are working in the field and one is taken and one is left. If you put those two things together, even though they're in different places, this was Yeshua's parables. It says, I say in parables that very few may understand. And so that what I believe is that what's being taken from our field is that tare nature, as we're allowing ourselves to rise into that higher frequency and consciousness. And that right there is coming out of us, is that beast nature is being taken out of us. And as our full consciousness goes forward, we're walking in the fullness of who he is and who God is as that oneness.
Yeah, as far as the timeline, it's very possible that's literal, but it could also be referencing allegorically, because you say 7 years. We have 7 chakras. That's the path we're supposed to follow. So this could be an internal, going from the lower beast carnal chakras all the way moving up and going through separating at that 3.5 point, going from red shift to blue shift, passing through the green middle way and rising upwards. Could very well be, but it could also be just an internal compass. Like we've got to do this part, the nitty gritty, in order to get to where we want to go. But yeah,
That came to me too. Is the 7 chakras, and then the 3.5 times up the caduceus to red shift, blue shift into green. But yeah, it could be literal as well. I echo that, Justin. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's wild. We actually are going to, we had a discussion after the Bible study on Wednesday, and we are going to finish the book of Matthew. We're going to try and pick up the pace a little bit, so that we can finish it in the next few weeks or so, and then we're going to jump straight to Revelation just because it's so relevant to what's going on right now. I mean, Matthew's very relevant as well. It's an incredible book, but Revelation is one that's like, it's very little talked about, especially within the traditional church Christian Catholic world. Like they really stay away from that book entirely for obvious reasons. So this will be a really good one to get into just because it's so relevant to what's going on right now.
I would love to be in and maybe, I don't know how to say that, but I mean, I've studied since 1996 and I got ordained as an apostle back in 2000, early 2000s and stuff for the studies that I did. I didn't go to Bible seminary. I just disintegrated 7 Bibles. I still have the last one left, but, highlighting the good in green and the bad in red and just like tearing Bibles apart until I could feel and see this, I was a pretty ugly person back before 96 and, running drugs for the cartels and all kinds of crazy shit, not running them, but back then, and stuff has changed majorly then, so it's a big transformation going through what we're all going through, no matter where you.
Yeah, no kidding. Dark to light in all sorts of ways. Whatever needs to come up is coming up. But good on you for doing that journey ahead of time. It's always good to take a leap whenever we can instead of waiting for it to approach us, which is what we're doing now. And we've got a lot of sort of sleepy brethren that are unwilling to look at their shadow, unwilling to look at their ego, and so it's just going to hit them all at the same time, unfortunately, and it's going to be very painful. And that's what we have to be here for, is we're preparing ourselves to help facilitate them, to help heal them and help them help reduce their trauma as much as possible, or at least just give them a glimpse into what's possible, give them a glimpse into, yes, I know this is tough, I know this is rough, but if you do the work, you can be like me, you can shine just like I can, which we're getting there.
Hey, Justin, just one quick question: are other people able to listen to this after you play it?
Yeah. So we're broadcasting live to YouTube right now. So it's on my channel and it will be there.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And just so everyone else can get the feel of everything that's going on in this smaller chat.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, bro.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I
Hey,
plan.
this is Sarah. I have a question
Hey,
when you guys are
hey, Sarah.
when you're ready.
Yeah, go for it.
Hey.
Go for it.
Yeah, just let me know if it's already been talked about or if this is not the venue for it. But
Everything's relevant.
okay, well, I've been seeing, I've been listening, and just such a great conversation. It feels relevant, but the stuff about the children is really hitting me right now. And I mean, I feel like all this stuff with mask and all that stuff is like really important, but my heart's beating really fast. But I just keep hearing, and seeing all this stuff that's been going on about, the children. I mean, I just saw a post by Tim Ballard about these kids that they rescued in Uganda that have been, not been severely abused and everything. And my biggest question, I think, when all this stuff is like, I hate wearing the mask. I try to stand up wherever I can. I mean, I went into a UPS store yesterday and they're like, "Where's your mask?" I'm like, "Medical." And she was like, "Okay." So I'm doing that as much as I can, but I feel like sometimes I just want to make a sign and like go on like a busy corner and just be like, save the children. Like, I want to do something about the children, and I just don't know where to start or what we should be doing. Should we be focusing on the masks and should be focusing on our freedoms, or should we be focusing on the children? Because like, I'll wear a mask for 10 years if I know that no children are being hurt. You know what I mean? Like, the mask sucks, but I mean, so that's kind of my question.
Yeah,
if
yeah.
there was a question in there, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah,
So.
no, I hear you, and your heart's in the right place, and we do need to be focusing on that as a big aspect to this, but to kind of tie it all together, like it's all in the same vein. So like the mask mandates, like everything that's happening now to try and strip our freedoms away, it's all the same group of people that is purporting the mask mandates, has pushed this whole CCP virus and made this all happen. So the more that we resist those kind of things, the quicker we get to that disclosure, which is ultimately going to get that information out there about the children and getting to that point where we're going to be able to do that as well. So it's literally like you can simplify it so clearly between fear and love. Like we've got the service to others orientation, which is where all of us who have hearts and do love and care and have compassion for each other, we're all inclined towards that way of being. That's the right hand path that Charlie speaks of. And then there's the left hand path, which is all about fear and control and domination um, and that leads to all sorts of depravity from the simplicity of just lying about something or wearing a mask out of fear or getting onto someone else for not wearing a mask, but it goes all the way to the lowest forms, which is the harvesting of our children. So it's all that same way. So I would say that, it's hard to say what each and every one of us can do on a regular everyday basis, but as long as you are clear on that orientation, then do whatever you can. And I think tangibly, the mask is a very clear example of where we can stand in our power and clearly say, I am not aligned to this dark agenda. I am not going to play your satanic games. And I see you for who you are. And the more of us that do that, the quicker we get to that point to where all of that's exposed because it's all tied together. It's truly all tied together. It's just one big evil lump. So your heart's in a beautiful place and keep that there. I would say I wouldn't dwell on the like children aspect if it's starting to wear on you, because there's a lot of times where we can get fixated on something and we feel powerless, we feel like we can't do anything, and it starts to really grind you down. I know I've been there, and I've known a lot of people who have got stuck in that moment, and it can be very depressing and very feels like you can't do anything about it. But if you can really use that as a driver and say, I know that's happening, but I'm going to transmute this anger, I'm going to transmute this sadness that I have for these children, and I'm going to alchemize it and spin it into a positive way to where I can take action. And if you feel inclined to make a sign, I mean, I don't know if that would be an effective way to get people, but maybe it would. But just opening up to normal everyday conversations, be like, hey, I'm going to talk about this whenever it comes up, and it doesn't have to be specifically about the children, because I think that topic, it's really difficult to weave into normal everyday conversations. But if you can find some vein of this global cabal and what they've done, and find a way to talk about it from that I mean the COVID stuff is the easiest thing to talk with people about because people are so tired of it, and just find a way to weave that into a conversation and get people thinking, then you're doing that work, and you're ultimately helping us get to that point where we are going to be able to rescue these children in a much more effective way. And that's not saying that I don't think that they have been, because I think most of the larger operations have been taken care of for the most part. Like I think we're going to see the after effects of everything that they've already done.
Right.
But ultimately we do have to come to that disclosure point where all of this is known. So anything that you can do to fight against this corruption and this deception that's happening, you're doing that. So good on you. So I
Yeah.
appreciate your service, and I appreciate your heart in that, because you're in the right place.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, it felt all related when I asked the question, like, how can I coalesce that into everything that's going on and everything you all are talking about? But every time, we go to the store, I kind of rebel in some way. Like if there is a line, and they're saying to stand 6 feet apart, I'll say to my husband, I'll be like, did you know in satanic rituals, they make you stand 6 feet apart and wear a mask? I'm like, this is all a satanic ritual. And he's like, I know, so I'll say it out loud. Or, if we're at the store and now we can use our reusable bags, apparently there's not dangerous anymore. So I'll say something like along those lines. I'm like, we have our own bags. And they'll be like, oh, that's great. And I'll say, yeah, apparently they're not dangerous anymore. So, I keep doing things like that to kind of to push back, and I think I just do it almost everywhere I go where there's some sort of restriction or something like that. So
Yeah.
anyway, thank you very much for addressing that.
Yeah. So
To
yeah, go ahead.
No, you can finish, Justin, and
Well,
then I'll
I was
chime
just
in.
gonna make sure that answered your question fully. Was that kind of covered it all?
Yeah, it did. It soothed my heart. It soothed that feeling in me, like, what do I do? And there's a level that I am doing something every day. Every day, in some way, I'm doing something
Yeah.
to push back and
Yeah.
educate. And I'm in the medical or healthcare field, and thankfully, so many of my clients are awake. Not all of them, because I can't wake them up, but so many of them are. I can't believe I've insulated myself or something with people that are just like, they want to talk about this stuff and we're all on the same page. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I won't go on too long, but it's, just my patient base alone, like 90% of them support Mr. T. So it's just kind of like, yeah, but so the other one won somehow. So it's just been a cool process, a sad process ultimately, but there is hope, and
Yeah.
people are waking up. So yeah,
Yeah,
so
for
that's all.
sure. For sure. Yeah, and it's a tricky thing because that's even when we have even when our thoughts have best intentions, it's still our egoic desires trying to trickle its way in order to take us away from this now moment. So if we start dwelling on things like that, even if our intentions are really good, um, it takes us away from the present moment, which is the only place that we can truly step into action. So that's why it's really vital to whenever those thoughts creep in, to use them, transmute them, and say, okay, what can I do right here, right now, or what am I doing? And it just becomes a way of being instead of dwelling on that, oh, I'm not doing enough, or what can I do more, and all these other sorts of things, because that can really take us away from the present moment, which is really the only thing that exists, and it's the only place that we can ever do anything. So just wanted to say that real quickly because it gets tricky, but it's the ego. The ego is really it really is deceptive in that sort of way. Even when our intentions are good, it can creep in.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So just to add two things to that, and Sarah, I can hear your heart speak loudly. Um, so I don't know if you've seen the documentary with Tim Ballard, and then the gentleman that plays him in the movie Speak for Freedom. There's like a 30-minute documentary out, and I recommend, I can throw that up onto Justin's chat, and that'll give you an insight as to where they came from and where they're at, and the whole process of the underground. I'm losing the name of it off the top of my head, and then the supporters of their movement to save the children is by doTERRA, which is an amazing essential oil. And I'm going to put a plug out there for them because they donated a lot of money, and they have been donating a lot of money so that this movie can be made, so that this can be put in front of all of our eyes to see. And then also, I went to Kensington last week. It's in Metro Park, and there's a farm center. And I went there like a week and a half ago. And then it was not a busy day. And then I went back on a busy day when it was all families, and there were families there with children, and they were wearing their masks. And so maybe you, just a thought is, maybe you might want to put something together, a flyer, and just, with love and patience and understanding, and address these parents and go up to them, because your heart is for the children. And we have to get these masks off of our children, and we have to go into the school districts, and we have to make them understand. It's, going back to county by county, we have to make these people understand what they're doing, and they don't, because it's a generation of parents that have been indoctrinated. And it's the younger, it's just that generation of parents that believe this, and they've been indoctrinated, and you can't really say anything to them. I mean, they're kind of like, they just turn their heads, just like when you go up against a liberal. It's the same thing, it really is, and it's really sad. So, just put that in your heart, and, if you can come up with a team of people and and go out there and just focus on the children and getting the masks off the children. And I saw a video last night about what it's actually, I didn't watch the whole video. I watched like the first 3 minutes of it. And I'm like, I know where this is going. And, it's just, they don't understand the psychological damage they're doing on their children. And it's really sad. So that was my just kind of like follow up on what Justin had to say. So
Yeah, thank you. That's a great idea.
you're welcome.
Well, and I'd like to say something to Sarah. She asked what else she could do, and I'm not trying to put myself in any position, but I was kind of moved and pushed by the Holy Spirit to go out in Ashland, Oregon, which is about 15 miles from the California border. And I had no idea. I thought a lot of people were going to turn out starting August 22nd because they started that big movement in LA and in Hollywood. And I went down there and made 12 signs, and luckily there was trees there because nobody showed up. And I was there for 4 weeks, and I did 14 of 17 weeks, depending on weather. And I stood there by myself until some hippie girls started coming down there occasionally, and a couple guys, and joined me maybe 3 different weekends out of the 14 I was there. And I had to stand there by myself and watch old lady grandmas go by, pounding their hands, going, "Yeah, get those guys." And then I had other people driving by in raunchy looking rigs, old, I'm just going to say it, kind of, not so wholesome looking people, like guys flipping me off, holding up a sign saying, "End child trafficking, end human trafficking." And so, and out of that, I didn't know what I was getting. I was down there by myself for 14 weeks, besides a few weeks that some people showed up. And then I had a mother contact me and ask me to, blew my mind, help take on a pedophile in our area.
Wow.
And we're still working on that. And another guy has approached me and said there's some things going on. So out of those signs that I did, this is an answer to her question, I had no idea what I was doing. I was terrified in the beginning, but I went and did it anyway. And I was so moved and pushed, it took me a month and a half to get the kahunas to go out and do it. And when I finally did it, and at the end of it, they contacted me and started reaching out and said, "We need some help on this. We've been trying to deal with this guy for 3 years." And not to get into details, but we're still working on it. And the investigation had been, faulted and halted and by police and all this other stuff. So we're right in the process of trying to contact these sheriffs to see what they can intervene in this. And, I've already contacted ORU, the Operation Underground Railroad, and they said all they need is an email from a sheriff or a police officer or anything, and then they will immediately go get involved. So that's what we're trying to do now.
Wow, that's amazing. Well done. And just on that note, for anyone listening in on the group, we do have that as a way to kind of get connected to people who are in our local area. I do have that. I think Sebastian reposted it today. But there's a little form that just briefly asks you what country you're in and what city, what name you go by on the Telegram, what's your display name, what country you're in, and what major city you're closest to. And if you can fill that out, that'll help people find each other. So for ideas like that, like if someone was near Tiz and wanted to go stand on the street corner with him, or whatever else, it's a good way to get connected and find each other where we are. I think.
Thanks, Justin. I wish we had this chat before because that's what I needed, but I appreciate your word.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I'm gonna reach out to you, Tiz, to just kind of curious about the signs that you made. So you might get a message from me. So thanks for saying that. If that's okay, if I reach out.
Yeah, if you wanted to, Sarah, you could go on. It's called QZ, capital Q with a Z, Divine Nature, and put awareness gatherings on YouTube, and you'll see all my posts on there from different gatherings we did. I call them awareness gatherings. I didn't call them protest. I called them awareness gatherings. I had people coming up to me, and the first thing would say, "Oh, you're QAnon." I said, "What's that?" You had to get past the moment of that question, even confer with and talk with people. So.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Was there anyone else who hasn't spoken yet today that wants to chime in, got a topic, question, or something we want to jump to?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that helps me in all the process of getting confronted with my own fear and going within instead of getting lost in all the fear porn that's going on and the bombardment of all the negative stuff is, as you say, letting go of the chatter with your ego and go within. And in regards to what I'm doing, or am I doing enough, what's helping is the analogy of being the lighthouse. And the lighthouse has to shine the light within itself and is not concerned about the storm or the waves or the wind or everything outside. Is just shining the light, and in that way it helps to be a beacon to get others safely along in the process. And it's been for me a long journey the last year as well, starting with unbelief on what's all going on, and every time when I thought, well, now I know it, then another door opened and another and all these layers. And at one time I found myself feeling like getting so drained by everything that was like the waves that were rolling over you. And now I feel more, thanks to the videos and the chats and the Bible studies, I feel more centered and knowing the inner standing, and that's gives some backbone to being in the world. And when I go out without a mask, I just smile, and you see people react like a bit of confused in confusion, like, well, it's nice to see a smile, but he doesn't wear a mask. And you see they are struggling, and just those simple things can help people to get out of their cognitive dissonance for a moment. And yeah.
Yeah, well said. I mean, it's yeah, if we could just appeal to mankind, appeal to our appeal to each other on a physical level of just, hey, we're all in this together, and you know, just shine your light as bright as you can, and others will see it and they'll be drawn to it and they'll be like, why am I doing all this? And maybe not, and that's something we have to let go of, that level of control, but um, it's a start. It's an opportunity for them. It's a potential catalyst.
Yes, and what you say, or looking from the heart, I've heard a few years ago a term that's called soul vision, and that's when you look at other people from your soul to their soul. And sometimes I look beyond what people are projecting to you. And when you look beyond it, you can see, oh, well, they feel scared, or they want control, or they need security. And when you can look in that kind of way, instead of feeling like you are being attacked, that really helps to shift the conversation and the interaction, because you're coming from a place of love. You're connecting on the soul level instead of your cognitive level.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. Well said. Yeah, it's interesting times. I mean, I was like, I again like to imagine God's sense of humor and all we're going through now, and it's pretty funny thinking about this is this is the thing that we're having to deal with in order to come into ourselves to sort of take off our own mask
Justice, I
in
have a
metaphorical
question.
ways. It's we've got to take off the physical mask off our face in order to step into ourselves. All we're going through now, and it's pretty funny thinking about this is the thing. Yeah, what did you have to say, Peggy? I'm not sure if my connection is getting slow, or yeah, what you got, Tiz?
So I just want to plug another event. I mean, this is a little bit out there, but there's a guy named Huna Flash, and I realize it's really not super biblically based, but Huna Flash is
I
a
have a
guy
question
from New
about
Zealand.
the Bible and
Excuse me?
one that Charlie is referring to, and I think that Melissa.
I think Peggy, I think you've got a delay, so
So I just want to plug. Go ahead, let her go. This is a little bit out there, but there's a guy named Huna Flash, and
yeah, see, she's got quite a lot of delay.
sounds like the whole thing's echoing. Mine just did too.
You go ahead, Tiz.
So what I was going to say is there's a thing called Burning Mask. There's an event on May 27th through June 1st, of all places, Corona, New Mexico. And it's at the Ponderosa campground. And it's an event kind of focused around, he's from New Zealand. He's a Lemurian shaman. It's kind of a little bit out there, I guess, but it's a unifying thing. It's called the Burning Mask. And it's kind of like putting it out there to kind of replace Burning Man, this carnal event they've had. There's a lot of odd things have happened on, but you might want to just look into it. It's called Huna Flash in the House of Huna, called Burning Mask. That's all I wanted to say, is just take a peek at it, see if it's interesting. I'm going to go.
Nice. Where is that going to be located?
It's, of all places, Corona, New Mexico. It's May 27th through June 1st. And it's actually based on like I said, we're getting a little bit outside the biblical context of conversation, but it's actually based on the Lemurian calendar. Is actually June 1st is actually the new year. So I think we're getting back to our 13 cycles of the moons and all this other stuff. And so it's just an interesting thought. I'm still learning on it, so I don't want to speak a lot into it.
You said it's called Huna Flash? How do you spell that?
It's called Huna, Huna, Flash. That's his name, and he's a shaman. And it's actually called Burning Mask Event, May 27th through June 1st, and he's on YouTube called House of Huna, Huna.
Cool. Yeah, I'll check it out.
I've got a question for you, Justin.
Yeah, Patrick, what's up?
In reacting to the mass things, they say when you are working against something, you're still holding it in your energy. It's like when you are pushing against the wall, you're still making contact with the wall. Or when you hold something, you still make contact with it. And I'm just wondering, what's your opinion on standing up and fight against something as well to keep your energy high and be the other kind of voice and shining your light? And do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I hear what you're asking, and I think you really draw the line on to I am in charge of my body. I am in charge of my sovereignty. I'm in charge of where I stand and how I operate. And that applies to wherever I'm going and whatever I'm doing as well. So it's not necessarily like I feel like if you were trying to get everyone else to take off their own mask and fighting in that sort of way, that would be putting a little bit more too much effort into it and trying to go from that controlling route. But as far as standing up for yourself and saying, I'm taking ownership, I am refusing to wear this mask, you're not really actively doing anything necessarily. It might require some actions in order to maintain that. but you're not actually, you know, it's that passive resistance. That's what Gandhi taught, and that's what we should all embody. It's like I'm not going to go out of my way to fight or confront you. But as far as me standing in my sovereignty and where I am, like I am absolutely certain on that, and you have no power over me. You have nothing here. So that's where I'd kind of draw the line with that.
Yeah, I agree with that because when we are trying to convince others like they need to change something, I felt I'm giving my power away to someone else. Like you need to do something so I can feel, or I can do, or I can do
Hmm.
what I need or what I want to feel. And I love what you say in taking sovereignty for yourself and drawing the line there and being the light in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, something came to my mind when you were speaking about that. It's really having your own boundaries and respecting your own boundaries, and in control of your own realm and standing strong inside of that. I don't think we're fighting back and pushing against the wall. We're just the stability of the wall, having our own boundaries and surrounding ourselves with like-minded people that have that same sovereignness in mind. We're in control of our own realm, and nobody can penetrate that unless I allow it to. And knowing what your boundaries are, and then be that beacon, because once you have your boundaries and you are in control of your realm, other people see you shine, and then you could stand the test of time with all the waves, storms, whatever comes at you. So that's what came to my mind.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, well said. Thanks, brother. Okay. Anyone else want to speak? Anyone else we haven't heard from?
How about some useless trivia?
All right, Ichabod, what you got?
It's a decode. I'm sure everyone has seen the what do you call it when they do the etching in the fields? Oh gosh, it's on the tip of my
Crop
tongue.
circles.
Yeah, the crop circle of the alien face with holding a compact disc. Has anyone seen that?
I don't know if I've seen that one specifically.
Well, it's a compact disc, and someone decoded the pits on the compact disc, and it was beware of false hope and broken promises.
Hmm.
That's just a little trivia, whether you believe in who's creating these crop circles or what, but that
Yeah.
was an interesting message that was decoded.
Beware of the false hope of the aliens that are gonna come and rescue us. That's what I get out of that.
Yeah.
That's probably what they meant by that. Now that you say it, yep, that makes a lot of sense.
We are the children and daughters and sons of God. So we are the ones here to the leaves of the tree, the healings of the nations. That's who we are. We are the ones that are going to rescue ourselves first and rescue humanity
Exactly.
through our conscious frequency.
Absolutely.
Aliens are just all the liars.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't it Charlie that said all of these Canaanites are the aliens?
Yeah. I mean, they're not even. Yes, like I get his point. They're not really aliens. They're still part of us. They're just on the opposite end of the spectrum. They've chosen to abdicate every ounce of God within them as possible, and chosen that far realm that but yes, they are alien to us because they have so distorted their own mind, and they've so adopted the left brain that they have no sense of compassion. I mean, it's complete psychopathy. It's like so foreign to us, and that's why us as naturally trusting individuals, that's why we can be so easily fooled, or why we have been so easily fooled, because we naturally see the good in each other. We naturally want to, and that's where we need to get back to. We need to be able to be naive, and we need to be able to be trusting to where I can have the utmost trust with my life to a complete stranger. Like we need to be getting back to that point, and we will. But we have to get rid of this sort of sickness that's plaguing us right now, which means really confronting this egoic and this egoic construct and those that completely embody it fully. Um, so yeah,
Well said.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the construction of the tare and the wheat. You know, they were on the threshing floor, and he's put them together in the whole earth. These tares and the wheats have been mingling with one another constantly since this beginning of, you know, whatever the beginning was. So
Yeah.
threshing floor.
Yeah, and even just allegorically, like looking in, I mean, it is an allegory, but looking internally, like the tares and the wheats, the wheat and the chaff, like both inside and out, you know, our left brain, right brain, always commingling together to where the ego sleeps in with its deceptions to try and take hold and steer us wrongly, and so it's a combination that we're often driven by for the most part, some of them more so left, some of them more so right. But the whole point of this is to go completely to the right, you know, to let go of that 10%, pay that 10% tithing, let go of that dying brain, and that's the price we have to pay in order to rise and move past it. And so that's cutting the wheat from the chaff is saying, you know what, this 10% that's rotting the rest of me, I have no use for it anymore. I'm letting it go. I'm gonna burn it in the fires. That's the baptism of fire. Um, and it, you know, it plays out externally as well. We have to identify those who are so consumed within that left brain thinking that there's really no saving them. I mean, always given a chance, you know, there's always a chance to turn around, but some people are just so convinced and so stuck in that sort of satanic evil mindset that really death is a mercy, and we need to be going that route and until we can get back to the recentered and rebalanced to where the right brain is is the dominant one, is the lead one, and then we can work on integrating. You know, then we can work on sort of welcoming back our shadow self as a part of us. You know, and recognizing our ego as a tool to use. It's not something to just be discarded entirely. At least that's how I see it. It kind of adds a little bit of personality flavor that gives us a little bit of a difference. But it should never, ever, ever, ever take the reins. It should never, ever, ever be in charge. That we have to be certain of.
Yeah, Justin, that makes me think of the tithing when you say 10%. And if you go to the book of Acts, how they were literally selling everything they had, and that was the 100% tithe, because when Ananias and Sapphira came before Peter and they actually held a little bit back, they were holding a little bit back, and it says that the Holy Spirit was, in my view, was representing that frequency realm right there. And it says that Ananias or Sapphira just dropped, boom, gone. And as they were dragging her out, there goes Ananias too. So it's they basically they have the most of everything, and they held back a little bit of what they had. They were the richest people in the valley supposedly, and everyone else was giving their little tiny bit, but they were still giving everything.
Yeah.
Off to the right side,
Right.
the net full of fish.
Mm-hmm. That's what we gotta do. We gotta cast our net to the right fully.
Okay, I have a question. I have two questions. They're kind of like housekeeping questions, and I know that this information was out there somewhere, but the Bible that Charlie uses, the version, and I think Marie has a copy of it, and she refers to it. Looks like yeah. So how do we come about getting that, or where's the link to that?
So
And
if
then
you
the second
just
question,
just quickly on that one, if you look, it should be pinned to I think it's the very first message pinned in the group chat, but you'll find my link tree, and I've got it linked to other places. I can resend it if you can't find it. But the very
so
first link
okay.
in that link tree has the 1611 King James version of the Bible. It's which is by Charlie's account, the purest version in English to the original text. So that's what we're
Cool,
using for the
that's
Bible
so
study,
cool.
and there's a PDF of that. You can find them to buy. I've heard people finding them on eBay and on Amazon. Um, but you just have to make sure it's the 1611 version, because the one that they usually advertise as the King James version, I believe, is 1769 print. which is slightly different.
Okay. And
I
then the
purch-
second question is the follow-up to the video that was done a couple of weeks ago, the gentleman that did the sovereign, how to reverse our birth certificate.
Yeah.
And I know you said this before, I just didn't write all this down, so I apologize.
Yeah, we don't have it scheduled. That was with Peter Wilson. So
Okay.
he's still working on kind of
Peter Wilson.
getting the website and everything. I mean, he's got his own channel he's going to be releasing videos on, and we'll definitely be pointing people to that because he's really an expert. Maria and I have kind of decided we don't really want to take the ownership of getting really nitty-gritty with the details of that. I don't really want to be fielding questions about paperwork and how to do it all.
Oh, no, I agree.
So we're going to be
Yep.
we'll take a more larger perspective of it and like just defining how the Maritime Admiralty Law was set up and really going through the history and things like that. So if we do another show, it'll be more high level and less on the individual topics, and we'll leave that to him and his website, which he's got set up, and we had that linked in the video. So I would make sure you're definitely subscribed to his website. He's sent out a few emails already just defining the process that he's going through, and he's actually going through the whole process himself. So it's not like someone just telling you how to do it and not doing it. He's actually going through it step by step. Like I think the other day he was deregistering his vehicle from the state and going through that
Cool.
process. So yeah, just make
So
sure
I'm
you're
sorry.
subscribed to his website, and you can find that linked in the video on my YouTube, or I believe I put it in a Facebook post and I think a Telegram
Okay, so
post.
okay. All right, so in the video that the three of you did, all of the links are there.
Yes.
Okay. And then just a thought, I shared this on Sunday night, or I don't know, I think it was Sunday night. So the Sabbath day, which is Saturday, and we're talking about our devices, and I don't know, as a beginning to ridding ourselves from devices, I thought I'm going to do it. So if anyone else wants to join, it's just like being device free on Sabbath day, and just spending that time in the Word or in the light or in nature, and just trying to, like, we have to start reprogramming ourselves. So there's just layers and layers of us that need to be reprogrammed. So I think baby steps are good on top of what we're already doing, and the energy and the force behind it all is just so righteous that we just need to get back to that, that the true calendar that we should be following. So yeah, and that's just a whole we could spend a lot of time talking about the calendars and where they came from and all of that, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and just
And 5781 and all that. So
just simply on, I think that's a great idea to have a digital detox day. And if you're going to choose a day of the week to do one, Saturday, the Sabbath day, is going to be your best bet to really get centered. I mean, that's going to be the most beautiful day to just really get relaxed. That's the seventh day. That's where the day where God rested. That's the day that we are supposed to rest. And we touched on this in the Bible study yesterday. It's not to say that you can't do anything. Like if someone's struggling or you need to help someone, like you're supposed to be righteous that day, but don't take on a lot of extra work that day. And if you're gonna do, I think it's a great idea to do a device-free day. And Saturday would be a great day to do it on a regular basis. I try and tone down at least my devices, and I think Saturday this week I don't have anything going on, so I might do a complete device-free day.
cool.
That's new, a device cleanse.
Yeah, definitely support Saturdays doing nothing, heavy meditation. It's been really helpful and seems easier to get into that energy. So definitely support the Sabbath day.
Yeah.
Okay, so Justin, so when does the day actually begin? Like, I know it's different than when our day begins. When does I don't know if it's called the Hebrew day or Yeshua day, or
Well,
I don't know what it's called.
it's all relative to where we are. I
When
mean,
the sun rises.
yeah, exactly.
So when sun
Today is the day of the Lord.
rises,
Yeah,
okay,
I mean, every day is the day of the Lord, but yeah, this not
it is.
you know, it's when the sun rises, so it's relative to you. It's all based on the sun and the moon and where we are. It's not like a earth-wide day that you have to. Everything's simple. Like God is very God makes everything very simple. These
Well,
demons have
that would make sense.
yeah, these demons have tried to obfuscate and make everything confusing, but it's quite simple. Like New Year's Day on March 22nd is the first light on March 22nd, and that's the first day of the new year wherever you are.
Well, that would make sense now that I think about that from your answer is because it's not a time thing. It's
Mhm.
okay, that does make so see, it is simple. And
It's always simple.
oh my gosh, our life has been so complicated.
We
Every
make it
moment.
hard for ourselves every moment. It's crazy.
Well, we do because that's how we're programmed.
Hmm.
I mean, when you're programmed that way and you're taught that way, I mean, but if you're righteous and if you're turning off your left brain, if you understand it, it just like clicks. I mean, it just clicks like a light bulb left and right. And it's just,
And you
it's
see the
amazing.
humor in God.
Yes, truly.
Most awesome chat, y'all. This is beautiful.
Thanks, man. Thanks, brother.
Brother.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Oh, go ahead, Patrick.
one thing that helped me to get mentally and physically more aligned to the natural rhythms. I think Charlie calls them the circadian rhythms.
Mhm.
There are apps available that give an alarm when the sun goes up and goes down. And because I was in a job and I had to work on specific hours, I felt my system was also deregulated, and now I'm without a job. But the app helped to transition from that kind of structure to more natural rhythm, and now I don't need it anymore because when the sun comes up, I wake up and I feel when it's time to get to bed because it's getting dark and the sun is going down. So that's just a little tip for people who might want to have some help with that.
Yeah, I think it's a good call. It's one thing that I always like the idea of. I'm definitely a night owl for the most part. But I do like the idea of shifting my schedule to be with the sun. I think there would be a lot of benefit to it, and I think, what Peggy was saying about devices, when we're not looking at screens, we can really get back to those natural sources of light and really guiding us back to that natural rhythm and getting in tuned with it. I think there's a ton of benefit to that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
attention, if you pay attention to Mother Nature and look at the cycles that she provides for us to see every day, pay attention to the animals. I live on 5 acres, so I might be a little more fortunate not being surrounded by concrete forest, but watch when the birds wake up, listen to them, when the deers come by, when the squirrels come out and they go back to sleep. If we were living out there in that with Mother Nature like we're supposed to, that's what rhythm would be on. We wouldn't have the lights to turn on when we want and the connections and devices to steal our attention and ourselves from us. Cell phones, they're phoning ourselves. So yeah, it's easy. It's super easy. Just pay attention to Mother Nature. It's all right there. It's funny how close we are to the freedom that we think we have, and it's sometimes just right outside of our door. We're just too scared to go out of it.
Right. Yeah, and if you've got good weather, you can just go on your own personal camping retreat and just go find there. I mean, there's free camping everywhere in the world, and especially in this country, there's tons of it, and you can just go find a beautiful spot and go there for a few nights and just bring no devices, and it's very cheap. It's free. You can bring food, or you could even do a fast during that time and just really just reset everything. And it really helps to just get us back into that rhythm.
Yeah, one thing on the sunlight real quick is the 20 minutes of sunlight, they've said that actually will heal like all the immune system in your body and actually bring you back to balance. So just that 20 minutes of sunlight absorbing the melanin into your skin is actually all you need each day.
Yeah, I try and get sun
Yeah,
whenever
the
it's out
sun's
for
a
sure.
hormone. Yeah, the sun's a hormone. We need it. It's something that we need. Same with the moonlight and sleeping underneath the stars. If anybody hasn't slept underneath the stars, amazing energy that you get from them on a clear day. Just a beautiful, beautiful place.
Yeah, I'd love to share. I've been practicing with I've been working with shamans my whole life since I was 13, and the lucid dreaming side of things is really, really incredible for me. So as far as sleep goes, I actually go into an altered state that's restorative, and I get plenty of rest. But I, for the most part, don't actually go into an unconscious sleep, and it's really, really healing, and it's been very beneficial to having enough energy to sort of manage construction and do the things I do. I just know how to heal my nervous system through a lot of practices. But I'm a sun gazer, so I use my eyelashes to block the intensity of the sun on large bodies of water, and I'm able to reach a state of silence with that sun where I feel that I'm actually gaining pure nourishment, where I don't even need to eat. I don't feel hunger. I don't feel a lack of. And what starts to happen though is that silence accumulates, and then it's almost like a wormhole of sorts opens up in this. I'm now looking at the light on the water starts to turn into basically another reality, and it starts to pull me, and I have to stop because I'm just not prepared to let go yet. But then I just start over. But I spend a lot of time in silence. I work with light, both moonlight and sunlight, and it just has infinite phenomenal benefits, let alone just communing with plants and learning to interact with the earth as a sentient being. And just the whole system that we're in is, from my verification, fully sentient. And the animals are very connected to the earth mother. And anytime you're interacting with an animal, I feel you're interacting with the actual sentient earth, and that that is her to me. And so all of these relationships are really powerful and connected, and just wanted to share that.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Beautiful, brother. Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, truly. I mean, we are just light projected out here, so of course we're drawn to other sources of light, and when we can look at these celestial bodies as these light beams that are, I mean, we are like the term star seeds is it's often referred to as like this alien term or whatever, that we come from different stars, but we are star seeds in a way, in that we are projected light. We're projected photonic light from the stars to play out here, and stars. Yeah, it's amazing. I saw.
Wow, thank you for telling me that about the stars. That's, I didn't look at it in that way until just now.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Andrea. Thanks for joining in. What do you got for us?
Well, this conversation is really beautiful, and I appreciate all of you. And I actually also just started getting up and sun gazing, and I keep my curtain open. Something called me to do that like over a year ago. It said just leave your curtain open in your bedroom and just let the light come in. And now I just get naturally woke up every day, and there's something to be said to that. It's like beautiful. And what's really strange is it makes me smile. I guess it's not strange because I'm feeling the light. And I just get up, and I'm like, the first thing I want to do is walk outside and greet the sun. And, you know, I just stand there with my eyes closed, and the longer I do it, the more I can see, like, I think it was Joel talking, I can see what you're talking about, that beam of light, just boom. And I just want to stay in it. You know, you don't want to move. It's just beautiful.
You are that beam of light.
I know, it's so, and when you feel it, you're just like, wow. And I've had some experiences. I've recently started doing it again because I stopped for a while. I think I got so inundated with all the stuff going on, and I started losing my connection a little bit. So I started redoing this. It's so great we're talking about it recently. And I have had experiences when I sun gaze every day and naturally wake up to the sun and just get more with nature. I've had experiences where I saw myself like floating and levitating, like suddenly I would see myself just pop up in the air. And I'm like, I got all giddy and happy. I'm like, wow. I said, we can do this kind of stuff, you know? I believe we can. It's just, we're all trying to figure out, you know, how to get up that ladder. And I'm so grateful to have all of you to do that. One thing too that I was thinking about when we're talking about ego and staying present and having no thought. I've been working on this for a really long time, and it was part of my healing was dealing with that ego and looking at it. One thing I noticed is just taking that big deep belly breath when I realize my chest is tight or my tongue is like locked to the roof of my mouth. I'm like, wait a second. I'm in my left brain. I'm in ego. Let me take a big deep belly breath. Just let it all out. And, you know, for that moment, I mean, just for that second, it's like you can't even think. So breath is so important. And I'm still working on that myself. I thought it was cute when I heard, I think Charlie say him and Colleen, they'd go out by the fire and they would sit there and do their belly. They see who could get the biggest belly from taking the biggest belly breath. And it's like taking in God, taking in that light, you know?
Yeah. Well said.
I resonate with
Thank you so much.
Yeah, well said.
Yes, thank you, Andrea. That was beautiful. I really need to share my sun gazing experience really quick. I know I've been talking a lot lately, but Sunday was miraculous. So I did a sun gaze and then I looked over the water and the frozen lake at Kensington. And all of a sudden there were these twinkles, like tiny, tiny twinkles. And it was just a lot of them. And I just gazed into the twinkles and I just was like in the moment. And then Sunday night when Charlie was decoding one of the songs, he talked about I don't remember what song it was, Justin would know. We talked about the diamonds in the sky. And oh my goodness gracious. I mean, it was just such a confirmation that the reality of everything is so real. And Andrea, thank you so much for sharing. I mean, I resonated with every word that you said. And this has truly been an incredible chat. And I love you all.
I love you all too.
And I really just like, you know, JC, thank you for connecting us and being so dedicated, you know, in your work and what you're doing. And it just has, I know it's changed my life, and I know that it's this family is just going to continue to grow, and this is where we need to be. This is truly where we need to be. So
Truly.
thank you all.
Love you too. Yeah, thanks for those words. This is the true family. This is where we started. This kind of magic is what starts to build and grow and grow and grow, and we get to embrace more and more as more and more are drawn to this, because this is the way. This is what we need to get to. So we've got,
Truly
Yeah,
is.
I'd like to.
yeah,
Go ahead.
go ahead, Tiff.
I'd like to speak real quick on the fire also. Fire goes back to ancient indigenous times where they would use the fire to heal, and even women through birth and pregnancy into birth, they would actually use the fire to actually do the healing and take the radiation into their bodies, you know, and that's just something they would just go up and just sit into that fire and actually just let the radiance go through there to bring that into the child itself. And after birth, the healing, the yoni and all that stuff, which is really a magical thing with the fire too.
Yeah, truly. I mean, gathering around a campfire is just that's why we're so drawn to it. That's why everyone loves that. You know, I don't know anyone who doesn't like looking at a campfire and just getting lost in it because it truly is. It's cleansing us. It's cleansing our being. We've got the baptism of water and then there's the baptism of fire. Like they're both so vitally important and for such different reasons. So yeah, well said. So we've got about
Yeah,
10 minutes that I'm going to be sticking on. I wanted to give just give a quick shout out to see if anyone is on this call that wants to speak that has not had a chance to speak yet. Is there anyone that would like to talk? And if not, we can just keep going with whoever's been. Okay. Aaron, go ahead.
Hey Justin, I'd like to speak onto one that we're maybe switching to another subject, but this gets into the silver oxides with silverware. And this is something I heard somebody talk about years and years ago, maybe 20 years ago, and I've been using wood utensils to eat with now for going on probably 6 years. And I've actually stepped away from using the metal knives and forks and all this stuff because this is the ratio that I was given, and I don't really have the digital facts on this, but this is what I was told 20 years ago is actually when we're using silverware and stuff, when you're eating, which is super important to our health and what we're doing through this nutrition fast. And so silverware, you actually, when you're using regular knives and silverware, you're actually only getting 60 to maybe 50 to 65% of the nutrition from what you're using the silverware with. When you're actually using when you use your wood utensils, you get like 70 to 80% of the nutrition. And I'm kind of maybe a little off on the number, but you get the idea of this. And when someone else is feeding you the old indigenous way, when they're putting food in your mouth, you get 100% of the nutrition because of the connection.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of brew on that for a while.
Yeah, no, I've heard the same, and that's why if we can get back to getting away from utensils altogether, which is fruit is the optimal way because we're using our hands. We don't have to prepare things in nearly the same way. We're getting the most out of it. We're blessing it as we touch it, and I would say, you mentioned silverware. I think it's more the steel, the metal content, and silver itself. Well, you can actually get utensils that are made with silver or silver plated. You can actually reduce that loss a good bit because the reason why metal does take away so much is due to the positive charge that they emit from those metallic substances, and it actually leaches away the negative. So what we need to be consuming and what fruits and things of that nature, they have a negative charge to them, and that's what the earth provides. So our mother earth provides a negative charge, and we're naturally positively charged. And so in order to balance out, we need to be consuming negatively charged things. So silver in itself is a really good way to impart a negative charge into whatever you're contacting with. So I know with my juice every day, I do stirs with with a silver spoon to sort of provide a negative charge to that juice before I'm consuming it, and then I'll bless the juice before I consume it. But all of that, which is helpful to kind of dispel that positive charge that can be imparted onto it from contact with metal and other things like that to help really balance our body out. So yeah, glad you brought that up. I think and I'm sure Aaron's got a lot to cover on that too. I know he knows a lot.
Yeah, there's really good points. I also want to speak on the breath too, but the silver, copper as well. It's a non-ferrous metal, so it's negatively charged, non-magnetic, hypoallergenic. So it does multiple things when you stay with the silver spoon and copper. But like Justin said, the best is to use your hands. If you haven't eaten with your hands for a while, put everything down, eat with your hands. The resonance, the energy that you get is amazing, especially when we get more detoxified. We start feeling that energy. I love my juice, but I really do like juicing oranges in my mouth and then just spitting out the pulp. Just that energy exchange you could bless it, and it's just 100, it's exactly what Earth and Mother Nature provided for us. So definitely, we do need to get away from utensils as much as we can. Also want to really quickly speak about the breath. Andrea brought that up. It's a really, really key factor in this, just as much, if not more, than the food. Our breath is what Charlie refers to as we're taken in God. So it does give us the charge, and we are under, high attack inside of beta waves. I love how Charlie has the science behind it, but it is truly stopping from us from naturally breathing as deep as we should. So every day, I did about 10 months ago, I put Post-its up around my whole entire house, just with the simple word breathe. And that resonated so well because it made me realize how much I wasn't breathing, how long I would go throughout the day and actually not be breathing. And if I was breathing, I would take really shallow breaths, which would put in that, easy state of fear and controllability. But like Andrea said, once you take that deep breath, it really allows your body to heal. Through my lengthened water fast, the breath work was pretty much the only way that I could get through some of that. 3 days of just air and meditation, it was because of the breath work. So any ailments or any pains that anybody's going through this transition, getting into juicing, getting off of solids food, getting away from dairy or any animal product, your breath is going to be your best friend. Just remind yourself that your body's healing. We've been programmed to torture it for so long, and now we're taking the steps to detoxify our body. Is going to go through some changes. It's inevitable. My whole body has shifted. I lost over 80 pounds. My whole skeletal system has shifted. My internal metabolism has shifted. My organs have shifted. My lymph system has shifted, and I felt every single one of them. And people would refer to that as painful, but I look at it as healing. And once you embrace the healing side of it and take deep breaths, then the pain goes away. It's all relative, and what our perspective is of reality. We only know what hot and cold is because of duality. We could become, it's just energy. There's nothing good or bad. It's just an energy field, and that's what we're going back to, is the unity consciousness back into one. So breath work allows us to find that really fast when we need that in our pain body experience. So that was it. Love you guys so much. It's a beautiful family to join. I love you guys.
Yeah, I love you too, brother.
That was beautiful, Aaron.
Hey, Aaron, I just want to say, let's stay on. I have a couple of questions for you. I don't want to address the whole group. So we can close out, and then I do have a couple questions for you regarding water fasting, etc. So it's kind of where I'm at, and
absolutely more than willing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks for Peggy. Thanks for seeing Aaron for the brilliant source that he is, and that goes for anyone listening in. If you need help with fasting or anything alkalizing or holistic health, Aaron is an expert. Aaron is doing the work, and he is demonstrating what it takes to really step fully into this path. And so thank you, brother. I appreciate you for your service.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely doors open for anybody, anything, any questions, feel free to contact me through here, and I'll get to you guys as soon as possible. But absolutely, I'll stick around and be here too. Love you guys.
Yeah, love you all so much.
Thanks, bro.
So I am gonna hop off the live stream, and I believe Charlie's gonna be speaking on L. Bradley's channel here in a few minutes. If anyone wants to tune into that, and then later on today at 3 p.m. Central, so 2 hours from now, Charlie and I think Colleen and Marie and Remembrancer are going to be having a show on Marie's channel. So that should be another enlightening one to tune into. So yeah, it should be a good one. But yeah, love you all.
Busy days.
Yeah, busy days. I love you all so much, and so grateful to be here. And we'll do it again next week. I'll let you know the time. It's probably going to be more evening time, my time. just to give more opportunity for people joining in from Australia and places like that to make it a little easier for them. But I'll let you know on the time in advance. But yeah, thank you all for being here, and feel free to stay on the chat as long as you like, and feel free to jump into this chat whenever you want. Like, it's always available. It's a great place to connect. But either way,
Brother,
I'll
thank
talk.
you for your service.
Of course. Of
Thank
course.
you.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Justin. Aloha.